When I wrote my first book, A Good Wife, Escaping the Life I Never Chose, that book is a pure memoir. It's my story. It's the story of being forced into marriage as a child and going through a decade of abuse and then leaving and then building a new life for myself and my daughters. There's a lot of ups and downs and a lot of battles that I had to fight during that time. It was a very, very vulnerable experience to write it. There were many moments where I felt like, should I share this or should I not? And the way that I got through those moments is recognizing that what would I have wanted to read when I was going through it? I didn't want to read about somebody who did not have vulnerabilities or did not make mistakes or had no failures and it was a smooth journey. What I would have wanted to read is somebody who struggles like I was struggling, somebody who had missteps, somebody who had setbacks along that journey. And how did they get through them? And this question that a lot of people ask is, why do women stay? You know, I hear this from victims and survivors of domestic abuse all the time. Why don't you just leave? Right? If it's so bad, why don't you just leave? And I wanted to answer that question with my book. Why do women stay? How complex it is to leave, how difficult it is, how many different things you have to think about, how many different barriers there are. And then how many more barriers there are when you're an immigrant, when you're a newcomer, when perhaps I spoke fluent English when I came to Canada because I went to a British school growing up, but there are so many people who are immigrants, so many women who don't speak English, and it's so much harder, right? So all these barriers, they add even more layers of complexities. And I wanted to shed a light on these things. I wanted to answer that question to hopefully give other people an understanding so that they can be more compassionate and empathetic, and give women who are in those situations hope. That yes, there is hope. Even if you're struggling right now, maybe you went back to your abuser 5 times, but there is hope. Try another time. I went back 5 times. So I chronicled that entire journey in A Good Wife, like how many times I went back, what setbacks I have had, what kind of barriers I had, what were the mistakes I made. So I wanted to be intensely vulnerable. However, that was also hard. So there were moments where I had to really dig in and take care of myself. I had a therapist throughout the writing process, and I wanted to make sure that, I'm writing, but I'm also taking care of myself in the process. And the way that my second book, Unconditional, came about is that when I left my marriage, I thought that my biggest challenge would be to learn new skills. I didn't know what networking was. I did not know how to go about and apply for a job. I didn't have the people skills and the social skills that others around me took for granted. So I thought, I'm going to have to learn all these skills to be successful in life. However, what I realized is that I was able to learn those skills pretty quickly. I was able to pick up those things in a few years. But what I didn't realize, the bigger challenge was the internal challenge, the internal unlearning that I had to do. So it was less about learning new skills. It was more about unlearning the narratives that I grew up with, the messages around gender and patriarchy that had formed the blueprint of my life, that had become, when we grow up with these kind of messages, that's how we see the world. And, what we learn, what we hear, it forms what I call the blueprint of our mind, of our brain. So unlearning all those things, unlearning the limiting beliefs that held me back and breaking through those to be living an unstoppable and unconditional life. That was the biggest journey that I have been on. And I wanted to share that with the world in a way that combines lived experience with also tools and strategies and scientific aha moments and things that readers can implement in their own lives right away. So they can also take these steps to hopefully unlock their own potential, unlock their own light, unlock and unleash their own unstoppable power.